to the far distant shrine of Kizuki, the ancient name for Izumo Taisha, the grand shrine of Izumo. What hast thou brought with thee? Why hast thou trodden this long road, I ask? With what feeling did thy first step come forth?
This is my third time coming to Izumo, but this time I came to play the flute. That was all I had decided. I took the Shinkansen, the bullet train, to Hiroshima, and from there I drove to Izumo Taisha. It was a long journey, but I needed that time. Step by step, the feeling of drawing closer to the land.
The wind of this land, the breath of this land, how did thy body receive them? Even on this day, which is not Kamiyarizuki, the month of the gods, when the deities are said to gather at Izumo, was something still filling the air.
The moment I stepped out of the car, I felt the air was different, not so much damp as having a weight to it. Though it wasn't even Kamiyarizuki, it already felt as though something was filling the place. Before I had even started walking toward the torii, the sacred gate, I already felt I was being welcomed.
Through the torii at Seidamari, the wide gathering place at the head of the approach, and down the descending sando, the sacred path, the shadows of pine, the sound of gravel, what didst thou hear there? Didst thou tread the same sounds as the pilgrims of ages past?
My own footsteps sounded much clearer than I expected. They felt absorbed into the Keidai, the sacred grounds, or rather, in this place, the contours of sound become strangely sharp. Just from walking, I felt I was moving towards something. The people of ages past, too, must have walked on this same gravel.
Arriving before the Haiden, the worship hall, what didst thou first do? In that moment when thou hadst not yet taken the flute in hand, where was thy heart turned, I ask? Tell me of thy bearing.
First, I bowed my head. I did not reach for the flute yet. For a while, I just listened to the sounds of the Keidai, the wind, the birds, the distant presence of other worshippers. I wanted to compose myself within before touching the flute. The order matters, I always think.
The drum sounds when struck, the bell rings when shaken, but the flute, why do thy hands keep choosing the flute? How dost thou explain that difference?
Both drum and bell will sound when you apply force from outside, but the flute, unless you breathe the air from within your own body into it, nothing happens at all. It is an instrument, like a passage of life. So, rather than saying I chose the flute, I sometimes feel it was the flute that chose me.
That breath, is it merely air? When it passes through thee, into what doth it change? What must be asked is the true nature of breath.
When I breathe into the flute, that breath becomes sound. But at the same time, the breath carries the heart on it. I am always aware of that. Sound and heart. The sense of those two passing together through the flute and going out into the world. Breath is not merely air.
When sound and heart are woven together, what dost thou call it? What name hast thou given to this practice?
I call it Ogitama, also read Shori in its Sino-Japanese reading, meaning the summoning of spirit through sound. Less a calling out to the kami, the deities, than the act of preparing a place where they may descend. That is what I believe Kenfue, the offering of the flute, to be, not to offer sound itself, but to offer toward the kami the sound that arranges the space.
This practice, did it begin with thee alone, or have people from ages most distant been arranging the space with sound, I ask? Tell me how thy senses perceive its roots.
I always have this sense that I did not begin it alone. When I play the flute at a shrine, there are moments I think, from very long ago, someone must have been offering sound in the same way, arranging the space. I feel that I am being allowed to stand on that long line for just this one moment.
From ancient times it hath been said that sound is a bridge that binds the kami and the human. What is the name of the melody thou dost offer to this land today?
It is a piece called HANIYASU, named after HANIYASU, an ancient deity of the earth. The instrument is a Shinobue, a Japanese transverse bamboo flute in Ropponchoshi, the 6th key tuning. I wanted to make it resound through the earth beneath my feet here in Izumo. I had decided long ago that I would come with this very piece. I wanted to play a melody made for soil upon the soil.
HANIYASU, the deity of earth, a name said to receive all things and to return all things. In the moment thou broughtest that melody to thy lips, what came to pass? How did the very first note come forth?
That silence just before the first note. It is like that every time, but in Izumo it was especially heavy. My hands were trembling a little, not from cold, but the kind of tremble where the body draws taut. Before exhaling, I composed my breath just once.
The breath was released, the note was sounded. That note, whither did it vanish? Could thine ears follow its path?
All through the playing, I could feel where the sound was vanishing, into the trees of the keidai, into the soil, into the curve of the rooftops, less vanishing than the sense of being quietly laid down, being received, maybe closer to what I mean.
After the final note returned to the sky, what remained before thee? Was that silence the same silence as the one when thou first didst arrive?
Silence came back, but it was a little different from the silence I had arrived with, the kind of silence that follows something having moved. That's how I might describe it. I could not move for a while, still holding the flute. The air of the keidai felt, just slightly, as though it had been rewoven.
Thy footsteps on the return along the sando, were they the same as those of thy coming? Had the sounds of the world reaching thine ears changed?
Walking on the same gravel, the resonance sounded different. After playing the flute, the way I hear the sounds of the world always shifts a little. The ears open, that is how I would put it. The voices of the birds, the sound of the wind, all of them felt much closer than when I had arrived.
Wilt thou come again to this land? And if thou dost, what wilt thou bring, I ask? Tell me the shape of thy next breath.
I will come again. The piece may be the same HANIYASU, but the breath will differ each time.